Pandemic tsunami strikes again. Who can escape the life and death catastrophe? Since the initial outbreak of COVID-19 at the end of 2019, the epidemic has undergone fluctuations and continues its spread. Despite CCP officials assigning different names to the virus over the past 3 years in an attempt to conceal the situation, the plague has never truly ceased or departed. As we approach the conclusion of 2023, the epidemic has once again cast its ominous shadow over the Chinese mainland on a significant scale. Outbreaks of ailments such as Mycoplasma pneumonia, influenza, syncytial virus, new coronavirus, and others have swept across the nation, overwhelming children's hospitals with reports of white lung and tragic fatalities. Especially alarming conditions prevail in cities like Beijing, Tianjin, Shanghai, Dalian, Shenyang, and others, where securing a hospital bed has become an exceptionally challenging task. Amid the ongoing turmoil and unknown fears, many individuals appear to sense an impending disaster but find themselves perplexed. On November 26, the Epoch Times released a special article titled "Pandemic Tsunami Strikes Again. Who can escape the life and death catastrophe?" The article extensively explores the trajectory the epidemic may follow, the root cause of the epidemic, and offers guidance on how individuals should seek good luck and avoid bad luck. Let's delve into the details. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Sharp rise in infections, yet CCP frantically conceals reality. The most significant difference in this wave of the epidemic, compared to the past 3 years, is the successive infection of not only adults and the elderly but also a significant number of children. Numerous cases of unidentified pneumonia, some progressing to white lung, have emerged, and a considerable number of children have reached a critical stage where lung washing is considered necessary, resulting in fatalities. Despite these alarming developments, the CCP is actively suppressing the true extent of the epidemic and concealing the facts. On November 21, Wang Chuanyi, Deputy Director of the Beijing Center for Disease Control and Prevention and Chief Epidemiologist, revealed that Mycoplasma pneumoniae has been prevalent for nearly 3 months, and the pediatric outpatient department is currently under severe strain. Although the CCP officially asserts that the public is suffering from Mycoplasma pneumoniae, many children's tests for Mycoplasma have returned negative. Consequently, there is widespread suspicion that terms like Mycoplasma pneumonia, syncytial virus, and others are merely new aliases created by the CCP to mask the true nature of the epidemic. A pediatrician in a Beijing hospital, who contracted the virus, conveyed to a reporter from the Epoch Times, "There is no effective medication for this infection. I've tried all the drugs used to treat Mycoplasma pneumonia, but none have been effective. Therefore, I doubt this is not Mycoplasma pneumonia." As previously reported, on November 21, the ProMed Global Infectious Disease Monitoring Network issued a warning, revealing the widespread occurrence of unidentified pneumonia in mainland China. The following day, the World Health Organization openly demanded more information about the epidemic from the CCP. This wave of the epidemic is exceptionally intense, and we strongly advise all friends to stay vigilant and not underestimate the situation. The CCP has a long-standing history of opacity, actively concealing the true extent of the epidemic. During the SARS epidemic, the CCP initially hid the outbreak, with then Paramount leader Jiang Zemin even issuing orders for the dismissal of local officials if SARS emerged in their areas, completely prohibiting the release of epidemic data. The epidemic eventually spread rapidly nationwide, throughout Southeast Asia, and globally, resulting in significant loss of life and economic damage. The true numbers of infections and deaths in China were consistently concealed by the CCP authorities. At the end of 2019, following the outbreak of the CCP virus, the CCP employed similar cover-up tactics. 8 whistleblowers, including Dr. Li Wenlian, were summoned and admonished. More informed medical personnel were collectively silenced by the CCP. To deceive the public, the CCP, on January 12, 2020, dispatched experts from Peking University, including Wang Guangfa, to claim on television that the epidemic was under control. Wang Guangfa fell ill with the virus 4 days later. Despite the looming threat of the epidemic, Wuhan authorities even recklessly organized a 10,000 family banquet event. When the epidemic became impossible to conceal, the CCP reluctantly sent out trusted expert Zhou Nanshan to confirm human-to-human transmission and infections among medical workers. Subsequently, the CCP hastily announced the lockdown of Wuhan but allowed the virus to spread overseas. The epidemic raged globally, causing immeasurable loss to life and property. At the end of 2022, witnessing the failure of the extreme zero-COVID approach, the CCP unexpectedly lifted restrictions without warning, allowing people to live with the virus. This triggered a nationwide epidemic tsunami. According to a report from a Peking University research team in early 2023, at least 900 million people were infected. Hospitals in major cities across the country were overwhelmed, with long queues outside crematoriums and disturbing scenes of multiple bodies in a single furnace, public cremations, storing bodies in seafood freezers, and large-scale expansion of funeral facilities. In rural areas, there were distressing scenes of multiple households in the same village holding funerals on the same day. In fact, the CCP is not only concerned about the outside world learning about the severity of the epidemic but also about people understanding the cause of the epidemic, as well as the origin and purpose of the plague in traditional culture. 2. Origin and purpose of the plague, a traditional and historical review. Many have observed that the coronavirus is essentially a large-scale plague, yet the CCP adamantly avoids using the term plague. Instead, it opts for terms like coronavirus and various other names to refer to it. In reality, this is a deceptive strategy aimed at keeping the public uninformed. When we delve into human history, we discover that behind every major plague, there are similar underlying causes. Whether in the classical texts of the East or the West, parallel descriptions can be found. In China, the Taoist ancestor Chen Tuan said in Xian Xiang Pian, "The death of plague cannot be determined by luck. It curses the earth and the sky." In other words, people blaspheme the gods of heaven and earth and curse the earth and the sky. This is the fundamental reason for the emergence of plague. In Western classics, plague is considered a punishment from God to humans. The Bible mentions plagues in more than 60 places, clearly stating that plagues are God's punishment for those who abandon God and disobey God's will. There are no accidental plagues. To put it bluntly, the emergence of plague is due to the corruption of people's hearts, and its purpose is to eliminate evil people. In this case, there must be traces of the spread of the plague. We might as well take a brief inventory of several famous plagues at home and abroad in ancient and modern times. 2.1 Athenian Plague. Around 430 BC, the ancient Greeks, in general, descended into decadence. The affluent Athenians became extravagant and indulged in excessive sexual pleasures. Practices like sexual incest, homosexuality, and promiscuity were deemed fashionable. The pervasive moral decline paved the way for the outbreak of the plague in Athens, and it seemed as though the plague had a discerning eye, specifically targeting the Athenians. During the Peloponnesian War, the Athenians captured numerous Peloponnesians and brought them to Athens. However, existing historical records do not document any instances of the Peloponnesians being infected by the plague. 2.24 Great Plagues of Ancient Rome. 2,000 years ago, the Roman tyrant Nero instigated persecutions against Christians, orchestrating the burning of Rome and falsely accusing Christians. Christians endured torture, including being torn apart by wild animals, with many Romans applauding this gruesome persecution. 10 emperors of the Roman Empire engaged in the persecution of Christians, and a significant number of people either blindly followed or supported these actions. Consequently, Rome faced 4 great plagues, claiming the lives of numerous emperors and an estimated 60 to 80 million Romans, resulting in the collapse of the once mighty Roman Empire. Historians observe that the Roman plague specifically targeted the persecutors of Christians and evildoers, while Christians generally exhibited higher immunity to the plagues. 2.3 The Black Death in Europe, the Whip of God. In the Middle Ages, religion in most European countries entered a state of decline. Many bishops and priests openly violated their vows to the gods, engaging in open relationships, while nuns giving birth to illegitimate children became commonplace. The clergy participated in both open and secret struggles for fame and fortune, contributing to a rapid decline in the morality of society as a whole. Consequently, the common people became indifferent, extravagant, and indulgent. This moral decay led to the widespread outbreak of the Black Death throughout Europe, claiming the lives of millions. According to historical records, the Black Death took away a significant number of morally corrupt clergy, and the infection among the general population exhibited clear selectivity. Some individuals would die after brief contact with the infected, while others in close contact remained entirely uninfected. Therefore, during that time, the Church described the Black Death as the whip of God. 2. For the global spread of the coronavirus. In the more than 70 years since the CCP usurped power, it has waged war against heaven and earth, disrespected gods and Buddhas, and caused the deaths of more than 80 million Chinese people. In 1999, the CCP initiated a brutal persecution of tens of millions of Falun Gong practitioners, implementing a genocidal policy that included damaging their reputations, severing their financial resources, and physically annihilating them. Additionally, a policy was promoted where beating to death is counted as suicide. This persecution has persisted for 24 years. In addition to subjecting Falun Gong practitioners to over 100 forms of torture, the CCP has been involved in the large-scale live organ harvesting from practitioners, committing unprecedented crimes on this planet. The extensive apparatus of the CCP's public security, judiciary, and the 610 office, along with a significant portion of the Chinese populace poisoned by the CCP's propaganda, have been complicit in this unparalleled persecution. Simultaneously, the CCP, using economic interests as a lure and lies as a lubricant, has deceived and misled the world. Many governments and businesses in various countries have either echoed the CCP's crimes or collaborated with it, while others have maintained silence in the face of these heinous acts. Furthermore, large segments of the population have deviated from universal values, prioritizing personal gain over righteousness, lacking integrity, being indifferent, selfish, hypocritical, engaging in unrestrained behavior, and moral decay. As a result, the coronavirus erupted and spread globally. Statistical analysis of global pandemic data in 2020 reveals a traceable pattern in the path of the epidemic worldwide. It consistently spreads along countries, cities, organizations, and individuals closely linked to the CCP. The closer the relationship with the CCP, the more severe the epidemic. The Belt and Road Initiative has become the epidemic Belt and Road. As the saying goes, shared karma inevitably brings shared sins, and disasters do not befall the innocent. In early 2020, shortly after the outbreak of the pandemic, Master Li Hongzhi, the founder of Falun Dafa, compassionately explained in the article Stay Rational. But a pandemic like the current Chinese communist virus, or Wuhan virus, comes with a purpose behind it, and it has targets. It is here to weed out members of the party and those who have sided with it. The coronavirus pandemic, extremely tragic and claims a massive number of lives. So, just how many lives did this unprecedented coronavirus pandemic claim? Before exploring this question, let's first revisit the Great Famine from 1959 to 1962. During the Great Leap Forward, the CCP triggered a nationwide famine, resulting in the deaths of at least 30 to 40 million people due to man-made disasters. Yang Jisheng, a former senior journalist for Xinhua News Agency, dedicated nearly 20 years to compiling Tombstone, The Great Chinese Famine, 1958 to 1962. According to Yang's research, approximately 36 million people died from starvation across the country. Chen Yizhi, a former advisor to Zhao Ziyang and the director of the China Economic System Reform Research Institute, stated that the institute's secret report, based on internal CCP documents, concluded that the death toll was between 43 to 46 million. The deaths during the 3-year famine accounted for 6% to 7% of China's total population at that time. However, due to the CCP's vigorous cover-up, many people were only aware of the situation in their local areas, villages, towns, or provinces, remaining oblivious to the staggering truth on a national scale. Even today, under the influence of the CCP's propaganda, many individuals inside China may find it challenging to believe that so many people died from starvation during that time. In reality, the coronavirus has claimed a massive number of lives over the past few years. However, due to the CCP's extensive lies, estimating the true extent of the casualties is challenging for the outside world. On January 16, 2023, Master Li Hongzhi, the founder of Falun Dafa, disclosed that the CCP had been covering up the epidemic for over 3 years, and the death toll in China had reached 400 million. Just a day after the Epoch Times reported the true numbers of the epidemic deaths, on January 17, the National Bureau of Statistics of the CCP unusually announced that China's population had decreased for the first time since 1961. Yet, the CCP authorities, neither daring to admit nor refute the truth of 3 years of epidemic deaths amounting to 400 million, unusually maintained silence. Master Li Hongzhi's revelation shook and shocked people, with many rational individuals realizing the truth after careful consideration. However, some people are perplexed by this number. For those feeling confused, they may refer to the article 3 years, for million deaths, why not easily perceived. On August 28 of this year, the Epoch Times published a special report in which Master Li Hongzhi once again emphasized that the primary target of the coronavirus pandemic is the Chinese Communist Party, along with those who blindly follow, defend, and work for the CCP. Many people, including numerous young individuals, have died as a result. The secret revealed by Master Li is being fulfilled step by step. As we've reported previously, in the months of July and August this year alone, there was a notable surge in the deaths of young police officers and judicial officials on the mainland. Simultaneously, a considerable number of high-ranking officials and professors also succumbed to the pandemic. As the saying goes, enlightenment often arises from confusion. Many of those who passed away at the end of 2022 were elderly members and high-ranking officials of the CCP. This may be viewed as an opportunity for those still under delusion. Currently, the epidemic is claiming the lives of CCP members and pro-CCP individuals indiscriminately, regardless of age. Many young people and children are also falling victim to the pandemic. Could it be time for the divine to settle accounts with the CCP? Some may question how even innocent children are held accountable. The truth is that the CCP has been intensifying its indoctrination of children, instilling the values of the party, wolf warrior thinking, and the philosophy of struggle. Following the persecution of Falun Gong, derogatory remarks about the practice found their way into certain elementary school textbooks. Since 2019, the CCP authorities have accelerated their ideological shift, actively promoting the so-called Xi Jinping thought through the propaganda system controlled by Wang Huning. Many schools have incorporated content such as Xi's quotations into their curriculum, forcibly shaping the minds of students. Consequently, many children have been influenced, carrying a significant amount of CCP indoctrination, making them equally susceptible in the face of the coronavirus pandemic. The targeted spread of the coronavirus has already showcased the current celestial phenomena and divine intentions. The heavens are eradicating the CCP. This directly corresponds to the discovery in 2002 of the hidden character stone in Jianbu Township, Pingtang County, Guizhou Province. On the fractured surface of a stone that crumbled 500 years ago, 6 large characters emerged: the Chinese Communist Party perishes. Looking ahead, it is foreseeable that individuals of any age, affiliated with the CCP, Youth League, or Young Pioneers, or those who simply sympathize or lean toward the CCP in their thoughts, with physical and ideological ties to the CCP, standing in support of the CCP, are in significant jeopardy. The emergence of the pandemic conceals redemption and opportunities throughout history. The onset of pandemics not only underscores the majesty of the divine but also embodies the compassion of gods and Buddhas. On one hand, the occurrence of a pandemic signifies the divine's retribution for evil. On the other hand, it provides an opportunity for people to awaken. If it were another form of calamity, many individuals might be swiftly eliminated, forfeiting the chance for redemption. However, whether one can awaken during a prolonged pandemic hinges on whether people value the opportunity. 4. Repeated tragedies in ancient Rome's plagues. In the year 65 AD, a plague erupted in the city of ancient Rome, claiming over 30,000 lives and serving as a prelude to a major epidemic. 3 years later, Nero, the instigator of the persecution against Christians, took his own life while on the run. However, after Nero's death, his successor did not reflect on the situation and continued the persecution of Christians. In the year 125 AD, the Athenian Plague, recognized as the first major epidemic in ancient Rome, broke out, causing horrifying devastation and resulting in the deaths of 1 million people. In the year 161 AD, Antonius ascended to power in ancient Rome and initiated a nationwide campaign against Christians. Consequently, in 166 AD, a more extensive epidemic struck, claiming over 5 million lives, including Antonius's own, known as the Athenian Plague. However, the persecution did not cease. In the year 250 AD, the third major epidemic struck ancient Rome on a larger scale, known as the Cyprian Plague, claiming the lives of 25 million people. The persecution persisted. In the years 541 to 542 AD, the fourth and largest plague descended upon ancient Rome, known as the Justinian Plague, resulting in the deaths of 30 to 50 million people. The repeated persecutions of Christians in ancient Rome were met with increasingly severe epidemics. Finally, in the year 680 AD, the surviving people woke up, beginning to condemn the authorities for their persecution of Christians and denouncing the moral decay of society. Roman citizens took to the streets, repenting devoutly before God. The people's awakening ultimately gained God's forgiveness, and from that point on, the great plagues in the city of Rome disappeared completely. 5. From SARS to the coronavirus, how many can awaken? Following the initiation of the persecution of Falun Gong by the Chinese Communist Party in 1999, numerous individuals fell victim to deceitful propaganda. Some chose silence in the face of injustice, while others actively supported the CCP's persecution, and a few were directly involved in it. Subsequently, the outbreak of SARS claimed the lives of many Chinese people. Despite a temporary lull in the epidemic, the CCP's Jiang Zemin faction displayed no introspection. Instead, they persisted in the persecution of Falun Gong, escalating efforts to forcibly harvest organs from practitioners. Many individuals, still influenced by the CCP's falsehoods, continued to hold animosity towards Falun Gong. Even after Jiang Zemin, the primary instigator, stepped down, successive leaders within the CCP failed to learn from the past, allowing the inhumane persecution to persist. In late 2019, the coronavirus emerged in Wuhan. Why did the pandemic originate in Wuhan? There lies a hidden secret. Before the comprehensive persecution, the Jiang Zemin faction covertly influenced Zhao Zhizhen, the director of Wuhan TV station, to produce a program defaming Falun Gong. This program was broadcast nationwide after the persecution began, fostering hatred. The abhorrent practice of organ harvesting originated at Tongji Hospital in Wuhan. So, did the virus also begin in Wuhan, serving as a divine reminder of its direct connection to the CCP's persecution of spiritual practices? For those skeptical or considering it a coincidence, reflect on January 23, 2020, the day Wuhan announced its lockdown and the coronavirus pandemic erupted. Coincidentally, this day marked the 19th anniversary of the CCP's fabricated Tiananmen Square self-immolation hoax aimed at framing Falun Gong. Isn't this reminder more direct and clear? Despite this, the current CCP leaders persist, enabling the continuation of the persecution. According to rough estimates from Minghui.org, the number of Falun Gong practitioners persecuted to death by the CCP has increased each year from 2020 to 2022. Even with the death of Jiang Zemin, the originator of the Falun Gong persecution, amidst the pandemic a year ago, the ruthless persecution persists. It's no wonder some people express, the greatest lesson in human history is that humans never accept any historical lessons. Compassion from the divine. Where's the way out for the Chinese people? Falun Dafa, or also known as Falun Gong, is a profound spiritual practice. Despite the brutal persecution by the Chinese Communist Party, Falun Dafa has spread to over 100 countries and regions worldwide, earning respect and admiration globally. As Galileo said, the truth has such a powerful way of manifesting itself, the more you try to suppress it, the more profound it becomes. Falun Dafa has brought blessings to the world, saved countless lives, elevated the morality of practitioners, and manifested miracles and wonders amid this unprecedented persecution. Now, faced with the raging pandemic, where's the precious Chinese people's way out? Master Li Hongzhi, the founder of Falun Gong, long ago advised in the article Stay Rational. What people should do, instead, is to repent to the divine with all due sincerity, admit to their faults, and pray for a chance to change their ways. That is the way to go, and that is the magic cure. As of now, over 420 million Chinese people have publicly declared their withdrawal from the CCP and its affiliated organizations, erasing the oaths of allegiance they once made under the CCP's blood-red flag. Friends who have not yet withdrawn from the party must quickly go to the Quit CCP website and make their declarations. Given the current fierce pandemic, many children are falling victim. Therefore, those with children at home must not forget to have their children declare their withdrawals as well. Conclusion. The CCP is not synonymous with China. It is an evil regime, a malignant tumor attached to the land of China, perpetrating evil for a century. It has kidnapped the common people, waged war against heaven and earth, persecuted spiritual practices, and committed immeasurable crimes. Especially in today's China, the CCP ruthlessly persecutes the righteous and tramples on the innocent. The Iron Chain Woman incident tore apart the CCP's facade of a prosperous era, and the extreme zero-COVID measures have restrained how many innocent lives? The inexplicable death of Li Keqiang, former premier of the State Council of the People's Republic of China, raises questions. No matter how high one climbs within the CCP's meat grinder today, who dares to claim they can have a peaceful end? The CCP is a gangster syndicate, treating human lives as insignificant. People should no longer be deceived by its lies. As revealed in the Epoch Times 9 commentaries on the Communist Party series, the lesson of history is that those who believe in the Communist Party on any issue will lose their lives on that issue. Master Li Hongzhi also said in the article Stay Rationality. People should distance themselves from the CCP and stop siding with the party. Behind it is the Red Devil, while outwardly it looks and acts like a thug who stops at no evil. So now that the divine is starting to eradicate it, all who still stand by it shall perish. Those who doubt this can wait and see. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.